Genesis of the philosophy of Amma. Amma Anasuya Devi, the mother of all, has never told that she is a guru, she is a philosopher, she is a yogin, and she is incarnation. But she has spoken more about the things which are related with the philosophy. This question naturally gives rise to understand how to estimate the genesis of the philosophy of Amma, because the message conveyed through Jivita Mahodadhi, which is directly dictated by the mother Anasuya Devi, is giving scope to put this question. And naturally, most of the people try to understand the mother as speaking about the Advaita philosophy. From 1950 onwards, many scholars, many poets, many professors, researchers, saints, sages, and laymen had paid visit to mother, and they had long drawn discussions. They had got clarification from mother about her identity and also about the features of her philosophy. And most of the people are inclined towards the brand of Shankara, and they wanted to interpret Amma also to be an Advaitin. The major question is, did Amma Anasuya Devi was an Advaitin? Was she a practitioner of Advaita philosophy? Wherefrom she had taken that? When she clearly says that when an individual is observing one's own life, every event, every second, there is no need for the Shastras. From which Shastras or scriptures mother has taken her philosophy? What is the genesis? How to understand that particular genesis? That's a major issue and primary issue in understanding Amma. And when Amma says that one has become many, and when she condemned that the illusion is not a correct point, and accepted that a person who is beyond illusion is called as Brahman, and proposed the identity of Brahman, it appears that mother is basically an Advaitin. And in a discussion with Chidambar Rao, her grandfather, about the incarnation of Krishna and Rama, when he comments that everything is leading to Advaita, mother says that the only state is Advaita. Can it be taken to be monastic philosophy? And did the mother practice monism as told by Shankara? It's a question. Because when referred to monism or Advaita philosophy, 90% of the scholars, or even 99% of the scholars, try to bank upon the observations made by Shankara only. But on the other hand, when we go into the observations made by Anasuya Devi, she has accepted Parinamavada. She has accepted the change as eternal, universal. And she accepted one point, that the creation is truth, as you are truth to yourself. She accepted the truth of the creation and accepted the change. And she is very much particular about the pervading consciousness. This Parinamavada, or the system of transformation or change, is the key to Visishtadvaita or qualified monism. then we can see and say that Amma is a monist, but qualified monist or Visishtadvaitin. At the same time, Amma also presented herself in some of the discussions. What is the need for the soul? I don't want the soul at all. I am speaking with the body. This body is an evolute. She clearly says to Chidambarrao Tatagaru that because it is a evolute modification from the nature, the body has come. It's totally a modification. At the same time, one can see in the observations made by mother that she has accepted the classical Sankhya dualism made by Kapila. There are some important aspects. She accepted the evolutes. All the evolutes are given significance. She has identified the importance of consciousness. The consciousness is considered to be penetrating and pervading. And she also accepted the significance given to Prakriti and Purusha through the concept of Ardhanarishwara Tattva. And this idea is basically Sankhya oriented. The Prakriti becomes 23 Tattvas, and the Prakriti and Purusha merge with each other. Mother has clearly told, all are supporting each other. Sarvanik Sarvam Adharam. Such type of statements, they clearly say that Amma Anasuya Devi totally followed Sankhya dualism only. She accepted the importance of the Ardhanarishwara Tattva in her Mahasutra. It will be accommodative to each other, and such accommodation is universal, and such accommodation is inevitable. And sky and earth are equally supporting each other. Wife and husband are equally supporting each other. She accepted the functional identity of the Kundalini in the finite bodies. She has never given significance to the soul. And even when there was a discussion about Paramatma, she also understands Paramatma to be a diction of only cognition. Paramatma kuda namame kada. In such a situation, she has given more importance to the audible and visible universe. And she has also accepted a source and force beyond and behind this particular entire creation. And she has gone to that extent that the matter with which the entire visible creation has been made is created before the Creator and before the creation himself. In such a situation, how to understand the philosophy of Mother? How to identify the judiciousness in the approach of Mother? And can we call traditionalist? Can we call rationalist? Can we call after a brand? These are all the basic questions in understanding the genesis of the human philosophy, which is led by Mother Anasuya Devi. For her, the universe is the truth. There are only two things, the unmanifest and the manifest. Both are bound by a particular concept which is called as Brahma Padartha, which cannot be enunciated, promulgated, understood and expressed. It is told Avang Manasa Gochara. That particular unmanifest has become the manifest, and the plurality is the various dimensions of the manifestation, and the qualities and consciousness and the mass and energy function together and go each other. As such, we can accept Mother as the basic observer of the Sankhya philosophy. For her, the creation is the truth. The creator is only a deduction. For her, the mass, energy, and consciousness are truth. The change is inevitable. The creator and creation are only logical and rational and truth to every extent. Therein, we have to accept that Amma is neither an Advaitin nor a qualified monist, but she is only a promulgator of the basic Sankhya dualism.